Hey everyone, welcome back to Essential Outdoors. This week we're going to save money by making our own rod socks. Stay tuned. Alright, so let's get started. There's a lot of tutorials out there that you will see. There's multiple ways of cutting your material for your rod sock. This here I have, it's 100 foot of 3/4 inch black and blue Alex Tech material. 100 feet cost me $22 at the date of this recording. Very cheap, so if you break that down, it's about $1.37, I think it comes out, for a 6-foot rod sock. And then we bought 20 foot of 1/4 inch shrink tubing, which was only, I think it cost me 12 bucks for the 20 feet, 11 bucks, something like that. Very, very inexpensive. So we're under $1.50 per rod sock. Now, I'm using the 3/4 inch on my bait casters. It fits close, snug to them, and it works out really well. If you want to do it for your spinning rods, I suggest going up to the 1.5 inches, which will give you larger for the ice on your spinning rods. So first way that we can cut it, so we'll just use a little piece. We're not going to cut a large. I use scissors. This is the way I prefer to do it, and there is a reason for it. And after I show you the next method, I'll explain why I prefer to use scissors. So we'll just cut right through there. Now everything is completely intact. There's no fraying or anything like that. I take this torch. This torch is awesome. I love this thing. So what we'll do is we adjust that down just a little bit to a little flame, and we will just lightly singe the ends of that. It makes everything tighten up, and we get no fray out of that. So that's one way of doing it. So what I've done is I have a 6-foot piece here. We'll singe the end on this one. Woo! Alright. We'll use that end for our flare, and you'll see that at the end. The other end, what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to tightly curl it and roll it up as tight as we can. Now my shrink tubing is 1/4 inch, and I do that so it holds on really tight to this stuff, so it's a little snug putting it in. Then when you shrink wrap it, you do the heat on the shrink tubing, it shrinks down, it holds it, they never pull out, and it makes for a nice tight end. So if you slide them in the rod tubes or anything like that, it does not get hung up, where you see a lot of the rod socks today have flat ends with labels on them. So what we'll do is we'll just take that end and we'll work all the fibers in there. And then we'll just push right up into there. Now with the 2 inches, it's going to give you enough where you're going to have a little bit where you can trim it off and make it all nice and neat. So we're going to take our Wonder Torch. You can use your wife's creme brulee torch or a lighter. whatever you have for the shrink tubing. And I'll list all the materials and everything that's used in this video below. So we just shrink that up. A little warm yet. I just like why it's warm. I just make sure that it straightens up as it cools. Then I'll take my scissors. I'll just cut that little bit off there. And we have a nice, super clean end on the end of that rod sock. Now, as that cools, what we'll do is we'll take the other end. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold this outward and roll it and make a collar. So we're going to take that, and that's why we singe the ends. All right, because it will flare out, but when you singe the ends, the flare is less. And once you get it started, everything starts falling in. Trying to keep this on camera, it's a little difficult. I don't think I was born with coordination, so bear with me. We're making a nice little collar out of the bottom. And we'll roll it. I typically roll it 3 times, which gives me a little more than a 1/4 inch collar on there. And then what I'll do is I'll set that. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll take a broomstick and they'll stick this whole thing on a broomstick and make it flare, make the whole thing flare out so it's easy to get on your rod. But what I found is when you do that, it opens it up. It doesn't fit snug on your rod. And what happens is a lot of times what you'll find is when you're running in your boat and whatnot, the wind will just slide these off and you won't even know it, and you donate, you know, your rod sock to, you know, to the great abyss. So I just work on the flare in the front where my tip top goes in, and then I leave the rest of it flat. Eventually it works open a little bit, but it will stay snug against your rod and they don't fly off no matter how much wind. Doing 70 down the lake in the bass boat and they don't fly off. And a lot of the production models out there, I've donated a lot of those. So we just hit it a little bit with the heat. Just tightens up the fibers. It's not even hot. It's very, very easy to touch and whatnot. And there you have the end. So this particular rod sock, it's a 6-foot length, and on a 7-foot bait caster, it will come a few inches above, about close to 4 inches above your hook hanger. And with that, anything that you put on your hook hanger with treble hooks or anything like that, if they flip up, they will not catch into the material. So that's why I like to do it that way. So you can measure your rods and try to figure out where you want that collar to sit on your particular rods. And it depends on the length of them. On my 7-foot rods, this is how I like to do it. And this works very well, and it's very cheap. Typical on retail pricing, you look at like $6.99 per rod sock. We made this particular one, this cost about $1.40 to make. $1.40. That's a big savings. You go do 20 rods, right? You're going to save well over $100 by doing it this way as opposed to just buying them. And they're fun to make, and you can buy this in different colors. All my colors are blue and black. It's one of my favorite color baits also, but that's how we do it. Any of the excess that you have, I keep all the excess, all the little pieces like this and longer. And if I have any extras left over, what I'll do is I will work on the ends, on both ends of them, and I'll use them for dressing in wires, like for my fish finders, stuff like that. Any kind of exposed wires that are on deck or on my kayak, I'll use these as organizers and to protect those wires, and that way I don't get hooked up on them or anything like that, especially on the kayak. So at the end I will put a short little clip at the end of this for the other cutting method. And what you're doing is you're using a soldering iron and just using the heat to cut it. So, but what it does is it cauterizes it on both sides. So when you do that, one side you're going to have, eventually it's going to be the flared end where you put your rod in. So when you go to separate that, after you melted all this together to cut it in half with the soldering iron, when you try pulling that apart, it flares, or takes all of the fibers, and the weave starts becoming undone, and it gets very sloppy and it gets very hard to manage. That's what I found. It may work great for you. I just prefer not to do it that way. I prefer to use scissors. So stay tuned. I will do a close-up of the other cutting method, and you make the decision on your own. I hope this video helped you. You know, try it. It's a lot of fun. You can make them, and you'll save a lot of money. And you know, we're trying to grow this channel, and please subscribe and like the video and hit the bell for notifications for the next video that comes. Have a great night.